I cover a lot of names. I've covered it for almost 30 years, this kind of consumer internet. So I spend a lot of my time on names like Amazon, Meta, Google, Uber, Netflix, Spotify, Airbnb, Booking, things like that, Duolingo. What I'm going to do is give you a very quick overview of how we look at the markets at Evercore. I'm going to give you my report card. I came here last year, I gave you 4 stock picks. I'm going to put them up, you can see how well I did. And then I'm going to give you a quick overview of the sector, the internet sector, the consumer internet sector. And then I'm going to end up with my 4 picks for this year. So with a 12-month outlook, and I'll be back next year and we can grade me. So here are the way we think about equities for the year. We generally think that the U.S. economy seems to be on reasonably solid footing, relatively resilient consumer demand. Interest rates should continue to come down, modestly. Just remember that we are 3.5 years into a tech bull market, and it started in the middle of 22 when interest rates stopped going from 0 to 100. Ever since then, ever since you had a neutral to accommodative interest rate policy, it's been very beneficial for tech stocks. Stimulus checks are on the way. That should be a boost to a lot of consumer discretionary spend. And AI investments are returns are rising. I lived through the dot-com boom, bust, and then the long sweep of history, kind of great wealth creation of the internet. I lived through that. The adoption I'm seeing of AI is faster, it's greater than what I saw back then. So those are the reasons why this should be a good year for equities. Here are the reasons why it may not be a good year for equities. Stimulus checks are on the way. Didn't we learn our lesson in 22 and 23? Second is interest rates could reverse, and that would be largely because of this dramatic government deficit in the budgets that all of us and all of our representatives have signed up for. Third, valuations are not easy. So yes, after 3.5 years of a bull market, valuations got relatively full and robust at the end of last year. And then finally, the market may be overly reliant on the Mag 7 stocks. I think Mike had some good data on that. You can see a little glimpse here in the bottom right of that as well. And I guess the new thing, and what's roiling the markets today, are tariffs. And yes, for all a variety of reasons that you can think that tariffs would roil markets. And everybody can have their own opinion. Mine is that tariff is not the most beautiful word in the English language. Tariff is another word for tax. And the question is who's going to be paying that? But at some level, all of us as consumers in America are paying it. And so our companies are eating some of it too. So I think that helps explain why the market has generally voted very strongly against tariffs. They did it last April. They're doing it today, and that's led to course corrections, and hopefully there'll be healthy course corrections again. All right, how did my picks do last year? Here's my report card. I came here last year, I gave you 4 picks. This is all the past. I'm gonna give you 4 new picks for this year. I pitched Uber, Amazon, Expedia, and Google. Amazon didn't work, it's down 13%, down 3% in a market that was up 18%. Uber modestly outperformed the market. But Expedia and Google, up 66 and 53%. I'm taking these from the date I presented until the end of last year. I'll do the same thing next year when I come back. So, I'll give myself whatever. In an era of great inflation, I'll give myself an A++. Just kidding. I'll give myself a B+. But anyway, I'm gonna be accountable to you. I'll be back next year and you'll see how my picks this year did. All right, I focus on what I call the Electric 11. I published a book. It's called Nothing But Net, and the tagline that comes out of it is to invest in DHQs. Not DQ, that's Dairy Queen. DHQs, dislocated high quality assets. So I spent a lot of time in the book, and in the way I practice what I wrote. Myself and my team, we spent a lot of time screening companies for the highest quality companies. Best management teams, best records of product innovation, compelling consumer value propositions, i.e. you've got pricing power, and large TAMs, total addressable markets. And then we look for stocks that are dislocated, i.e. they're trading at a 3-year trough multiple on free cash flow or EBITDA or earnings, or they've corrected 30%. There's a lot of different ways you can look at to decide what's dislocated. But that's what I do, I hunt for these DHQs. One of the reasons I had Google up there as a top pick last year is that I thought Google at 15 times earnings was dislocated. I knew it was high quality, but I thought it was dislocated. All those fears about ChatGPT and the DOJ They may have been right, but I thought they were more than reflected in the stock price. Anyway, these are what I consider the highest quality names in the space I look at. Google, Amazon, Meta, Uber, DoorDash, Spotify, Airbnb, Booking, maybe Trade Desk, Shopify. I'm probably wrong on one or two of these, and I could probably add one or two names. I'm going to mention one later. But I wait for these stocks to get dislocated, and they usually become my top picks. So that's my approach. Three or four key trends I'm seeing in the group that I cover. First, very consistent demand trends. So I look at a lot of different sectors being an internet analyst. I look at retail. I look at advertising. I look at travel. I look at everything from web presence to entertainment. Entertainment would be Netflix and Spotify. And I look at their growth rates, even listening to the most recent earnings calls and looking at the results for the last couple of quarters and the outlooks for this year. The trends are very consistent. We've had a bit of a sell-off in the group here today. It's not because that there's been some sort of negative inflection in revenue growth rates or in demand or number of subscribers added, things like that. The demand trends are consistent, and I look at over $1 trillion in retail spend because I look at Amazon and eBay and Shopify and Etsy, and I look at $500 billion in travel spend because I look at Booking, Expedia, Airbnb, and I look at $750 billion in ad spend because I look at Google and Meta. Amazon's got a big ads business, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a reasonably good view into the overall demand trends, and I'm seeing resilient, consistent demand trends. I'm seeing ramping profitability. So this has been the case for 2 or 3 years. You have fixed cost businesses where revenue is accelerating or maintaining at premium growth levels. Margins are going to go up. There's also, for the most part, in the public markets anyway, the public companies, not the privates, in the public markets, you're just seeing greater cost discipline. The culture has changed. And that memo that Zuckerberg wrote 3 years ago about the year of efficiency, a lot of people in the Valley read it. And so you're seeing companies a lot more careful about expenses, more disciplined about stock-based comp, a lot of good things that have led to this ramping profitability. The little red line at the bottom, what that shows you is that this growth for the large cap, these are about 20 names here, just on operating income or EBITDA, grew 24% last year, it's going to grow 26% this year. Oh, and if you've got companies that are buying back stock, that means that they're growing earnings at 25 to 30%. You know what the market is growing earnings at, the S&P 500? You know, 11, 12, 13, 14%, somewhere in there. So I got a group of names here, some of them much higher than that, some of them not much higher, but that are growing at that are going twice the rate of the market or 2.5 the rate of the market. That's why they should trade at a premium. So when I see Google getting close to 20 times earnings back now, certainly when it was at 15 times earnings, and when I see Amazon around there, and I'm going to see Meta around there, I think valuation is very intriguing here. I got to think about my catalysts. All right, that's ramping profitability. Going all in on AI, these Capex trends are extraordinary. I haven't gone back through history and inflation-adjusted investment cycles. Maybe we spent more building out the railroads in the 1830s and 50s than we do in Capex today. I have no idea. I just know the numbers that we're seeing now are completely unprecedented. You add up the Capex for Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Oracle, CoreWeave, OpenAI, Anthropic, I mean, you're getting close to $1 trillion in Capex. $1 trillion in Capex. We've never seen anything like that. No wonder people are concerned about the returns you're going to get. But what I find so interesting about this is that, especially for the 3 or the 4 largest public companies, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, on the last earnings call, the CEOs all said the same thing. They are supply constrained. If they had more capacity, they would generate more revenue. So this is not a field of dreams. You're not investing in Capex and hoping that there's demand out there. You're investing in Capex to catch up to demand. That's a very different setup, and it's a very bullish setup, assuming that they can thoughtfully invest that in Capex. And then finally, number 4, and then I'm going to get to my top picks. Clear evidence of ROAI. What I'm seeing is that the revenue per employee at the 4 hyperscalers, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta, has started to inflect up over the last 3 years. These companies are able to use AI to improve their productivity. Meta's a wonderful example of that. Meta was able to use AI to make Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram more relevant. People spent more time. You give Meta more time, and they're going to generate more ad revenue. And their ad revenue growth tripled over the 3 years because of AI. They used AI to make their ad tech stack better for marketers. They made it easy for any small business to automatically spin up an ad campaign and to get a decent return on it. So I've seen wonderful examples of what I call ROAI, return on AI. All right, enough of that. Here are my 4 picks for the next 12 months. And I'm going to go through each of them. Amazon, Expedia, DoorDash, and Zillow. So hopefully I'll get 3 of these right. This is my pitch, and I'm going to go through each one of them. You can see what the price targets are. These are my top picks, and I try to do this with the 12-month outlook. Amazon's my #1 pick. I had it as a top pick last year, underperformed. So why am I keeping it this year? Well, because I never try to think about past performance when thinking about stocks. I always try to think about how things are going to change in the future. But I think this is an accelerating revenue growth, expanding margin business this year. I think their cloud computing business has accelerated the last 2 quarters, and I think it's going to continue to accelerate. And we're going to get somewhere between 25 and 30%, and maybe just a smidgen higher cloud revenue growth. And this is a high margin business for Amazon. I think it's in part because the industry is at an inflection point, in part because AWS is dealing with its supply constraints. That $200 billion in Capex, and I look at the backlog number that they reported last quarter. It grew faster than at any point in the company's history. That's a lead indicator of demand. And then the retail business, I think, is going to accelerate. I love some of the new things they've rolled out, like Rufus. Great way to do personalized search-like shopping on Amazon. It's already leading to incremental sales. They're also dipping into something called perishable checkout. Some of you may have experienced this when you're ordering something on Amazon. If you're a Prime customer and you're ordering something that's going to be delivered in the next 24 hours, they'll ask you, do you want to throw additional items into your shopping basket? They'll give you a page full of grocery items, perishables, fruits, vegetables, milk, etc. And what it's allowing Amazon to do is just get its nose deeper into the grocery market, into the grocery tent. And I think this is going to help retail revenue for Amazon accelerate this year. They're also accelerating the speed of delivery, and the faster you ship, the more they shop. So I think you've got an accelerating retail revenue growth story here. And then finally, I think you've got if retail revenue growth accelerates, almost certainly ad revenue does too. This is a company that's also been deploying robotics materially to bring up margins in its retail business. So that's why I like Amazon. It's also trading close to 20 times earnings. I think there's a chance here for this thing to re-rate in the next 12 months to 25 to 30 times earnings. That's 25 to 50% upside in the stock before, I've talked about earnings growth, before upside the street estimates. So I've got 3 things that I think are going to be tailwinds to the stock. Amazon, #1 pick for 2026 for me. And just as a reminder, online retail's had a lot of competitive swings back and forth over the last 10 years. One thing's been constant. Amazon remains far and away the most popular online shopping destination in this country. Pick number 2 is a little bit of a contrarian pick. It's Expedia, so the online travel company. I also like Booking. Ticker there is EKNG, but I'll go with Expedia first. This is a management turnaround story in a sector that I think is wonderfully profitable. 80% margins, 80% gross margins, 30% operating margins. The company pays a dividend. They actually increase the dividend. They buy back a shoot ton of stock. They've shrunk their float by 15-20% in the last 5 years. Really good capital allocators, and a company that's also executing a lot better. And it's cheap as heck. It's trading at 13 times earnings. When I came here last year, there's like a little bottom yellow there. they were growing their room nights only 6% year over year. They were the slowest in the group. They were the laggard. Now, they're the leader in the group, and it's because under new management, they're executing better. So I like Expedia, and I think something like this can re-rate materially. The multiple can go much higher. DoorDash is number 3. DoorDash has corrected about 25–30% recently because they've announced an investment cycle. They're investing in this Deliveroo asset, which is the DoorDash of Western Europe. They're investing in autonomous delivery. Robots are starting to drive us around, and robots are going to deliver our food. Now, that may be 10 to 15 years out, but it's a long-term investment the company is making. And they're also investing in their tech infrastructure. The action question we all need to ask ourselves is, are these investments coming from a position of strength or weakness? DoorDash is the global leader in delivery. Global leader in delivery, and they're sustaining 20% plus top-line growth. It's one of the very few mega caps that's actually consistently sustaining 20% top-line growth, which is a very hard thing for a company to do at scale. This company's also shown great diversification away from the US, in part through acquisitions, and away from their core restaurant delivery vertical. They're now the most popular delivery vehicle for groceries in this country. So I like DoorDash's diversified play. You never want to buy a company right before they go into the investment cycle. The good news is they've already announced the investment cycle, so you're kind of safer on the other side of that. And I think there's a chance for a re-rating opportunity here, high quality asset. There's one other thing I like about this, and I put this in my book. When I look for companies that are chasing TAMs, trillion-dollar TAMs. That's what Google did, Amazon did, Meta did, and that's what Dash is doing too. If you put together restaurant, spend, you put together, then you throw in grocery, pharmacy, convenience spend. I mean, you've got a couple of trillion-dollar TAMs there. But in its most mature market, the US, in its most mature segment, delivery, restaurant delivery, it's still 10% of its TAM. So you want companies that face really large TAMs and have a small share of said TAM, and that are the market leader against that TAM. I give you DoorDash, which should give you confidence that the growth rates that they're sustaining now are sustainable going forwards. Last pick, this is a little bit contrarian, Zillow. So this is a play off of residential real estate advertising. They generally get money from professional real estate agents who are trying to get home buyers to come and work with them, or to try to help sell the homes that they're listing. They also do apartment rentals, they also do mortgages, so it's increasingly diversified play. So this is a small cap name. It's like a $16 billion market cap, and so that makes it much more speculative. That's why it's a number 4 pick, not one of the top 3. And the pitch here is this. We've gone through 3 years of a soft housing market in the US. We're doing 3 to 4 million existing home sales a year. You have to go back to the mid-'80s for when the housing market was growing that slowly in the US. There's a lot of different factors here. Interest rates, there's structural issues, regulatory issues, and a lot of things that have kind of depressed that. But eventually, the American home buyer is going to come through, and we're going to have, especially as mortgage rates comes down, and you're going to get back to that 5 to 6 million a year. That's the 30-year average. So this is kind of one way to play the housing recovery. This is also a company with some great product cycles. Company that's now finally reached enough scale to turn profitable. For the first time in its 10-year, 12-year public history, they finally turned in a GAAP profitable year last year. So you got a profitability inflection point, and there's a small little trigger here. They are now finally up for inclusion in the S&P 500. Once you reach four quarters of profitability, so it's a nice little trading catalyst. So that's Zillow. I like Zillow, $95 is our price target. And I'm going to leave you with, so those are my top 4 picks. Again, I'm going Amazon, Expedia, DoorDash, and Zillow, and I'll be back in a year. You can grade me. I'll grade myself too. And I'll leave you with one book idea, just as I'm wrapping up. I love to read a lot. If I come across a really exciting, interesting book, I like to share it with friends. It's my book. Nothing But Net, named after my love of the fascination with the internet industry, but also the fact that I've now got 6 sons, and 4 of them are playing. 4 of them play basketball. 5 of them play basketball. And my 6-month-old, I'm going to start training him next month. I haven't told my wife that yet, but I'm going to start training. I'm going to start training Lincoln. Anyway, so this is what I got, and yeah, that's it. I want to leave you with those ideas. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. Thank you.